Hello and welcome. In this video I just want to show you kind of my setup for crypto trading. So it's going to be a really short video. I just kind of want to show you like how I got it all arranged and whatnot. So what you're looking at now is actually the user interface to my Cryptobot. And as you can see here, so I've got ADA that I'm trading against Bitcoin or Cardano. And I've got ETH or Ethereum, which I'm trading against Bitcoin. So I've got two things going at one time. This is just a timestamp of, the last time anything happened. The bid and ask price at the order books. This is all looking at Coinbase Pro. And this is the top and bottom, the top of the buy and sell side on the order book, basically the bid and ask. This tells me what my grid spacing is. Now the grid is basically like, I'll show you when I show you the trading platform. But it's basically how far apart to place trades. All right, spend and profit. So my maximum spend per trade is 0.0002 Bitcoin, and then I'm basically going for about 1% gains. And then there's another thing that I call the stash that I'll show you in a minute, but it's not shown here on this list. And then over here, open and max. So I have a max allowed trades right now of 552, or orders that can be open on the order book at one time. And I actually have 552 orders open on the order book. And this one, there's 551 out of the 552. And I guess the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, that we had a nasty spike down on Ethereum, and I put a buy order in like way down low. Let me see if that shows up here, right? So 77.42. No, there's one that's open, but I don't know if it'll show up on this list. This only shows the 100 most recent things. And as you can see, I've got 552 on either. So it's not likely that open buy order will show up. So what happens though is when I place a buy order, it goes, you'll see it listed here, right, in this column here. Okay. And then this side will be just blank or hyphens or something, I can't remember. But basically there'll be no number here. Right? But as soon as this buy order fills, then the bot immediately turns around, calculates the profit price, and then places a sell order. And once that sell order is on the order book, then its price will show up here. So if you look, okay, right now I've got 742 as the buy price and 951 as the sell price. So I'm trying to capture about 200 points, right? And the calculation is based on, it has the fees included and all this other stuff, and plus this number here, which is the profit amount. Oh my goodness, hang on. It won't let me select, but you get the idea. That number right there, right, that's the profit amount. And then when I calculate the sell price, it's whatever price I have to sell it at in order to increase my account by this much Bitcoin, right? Okay, rinse and repeat 500 times, and you start making some cash. So then here, I'll show you. If I click on one of these guys, it opens up the session parameters. Now there's, public and secret key, blah, 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 yeah, right? Because for the API for Coinbase Pro, right? The crypto pair, the grid size, Okay, here I have the maximum price. This is the maximum price that I want to pay. I don't want to pay anything more than this, right? If the price goes above that, I'm not getting in, period. Okay, here's my maximum spend, which you saw there. There's my min profit. So basically like a 1% I'm going for, right? In this case, which you see there. But then I have min stash. Okay, now here's an interesting thing you've probably not seen before, right? So let's go back to the example here. Okay, I'm buying this much worth of ETH, okay, which is that quantity right there, right? And at that price, okay? But when I sell it, I'm not selling that quantity. I'm selling that quantity minus this amount right here, so that I'm keeping some of the ETH that I bought, and then I'm selling the remainder for, where'd that thing go? I'm selling the remainder for this price. And what ends up happening is I get my 1% on my trade on Bitcoin, but I also pocket about another 1% in ETH as well. And the example I've given in previous videos is like candy bars, for example. Let's say I like candy bars, right? So I buy $100 worth of candy bars. Let's say that's 90 candy bars, right? I pocket one. I sell 89 candy bars. So what I say, I bought $100 worth, which was 90 candy bars, right? 90 candy bars for $100. I pocket one, and now I sell the 89 candy bars for $101, right? So now I have one more dollar than I started with, and I have a free candy bar. That's exactly what I'm doing with Bitcoin and ETH. So this bot does all the math and all that, blah, 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 and it figures out those numbers. I don't have to do anything but sit here and watch it go, right? So that's the user interface for the Cryptobot. Let me see what I've did. Did I leave anything else? Yeah. Maximum orders and max per level. So what happens is we have a grid, right? In this case, the grid is 1. So every price on the order book is going to have an order on it, right? If the grid size is 10, then it'll be every 10th order on the order book will be one of my orders. There'll be 10 prices, whatever, in between each of my orders, right? But for this pair and for Cardano, I do a grid spacing of 1, which means like when this thing starts placing orders, it places them at every price, which is really kind of cool to see. Okay, so I have a max per level right now of 2 on ETH. On Cardano, I think I have it set to 3. Yeah, I have it set to 3 on Cardano. And what that means is I can place this many orders at a single price level, but if I reach that price, if I get to 3 orders on the same price, then I'm not allowed to place any more orders on that price. I have to place orders at a different price. And that basically keeps the thing from just continually placing orders at the same price level. I also have an interesting algorithm that kind of forces it to distribute the trades throughout the order book and not pile them up too high on, at one particular price. It's kind of cool. I might talk about that in another video, but it's really kind of a cool algorithm. There's a lot of logic and math and stuff behind this. It's kind of cool the way it works. And this one has evolved over maybe the last 2 years, and it's pretty solid right now. All right, so that's the Cryptobot interface. So let's look at the Cryptobot server. So I'm going to turn that guy on and turn that guy off. And I'm going to move over so you can kind of see. There's not really much to see, except for every time something happens, like I get these warnings, whenever the bot attempts to do a buy or does a sell, whatever. But I don't really have any messages that I can show you there at the moment, the trade messages. But when the bot is actually trading, when it's actively trading, then you'll see a lot of messages scrolling on this screen here, and it'll be like, buy this much ETH at this price, and then fill this, this order filled, and then it'll be like, okay, now sell this much ETH at this price, and so on and so forth. Or if an order gets canceled, because they get canceled if they've been alive on the order book for the buy orders only. If they've been on the order book for more than 10 minutes and there's orders at a higher price already in place, the ones at the lower prices will start disappearing and canceling, just to basically free up money to place more orders. It's kind of a weird thing, but it makes sense when you see the thing in action. All right, that's the Cryptobot server. Okay, that's that guy right there. Now we're going to look at Coinbase Pro. So this is the Coinbase Pro. This is the exchange that I do all my trading on. I'm going to get myself out of the way so I can kind of describe everything here. Okay, first off, we have the order book. And if you don't know how an order book works, think of it as just a bunch of people who want to they either want ETH or they want Bitcoin, right? So they have Bitcoin and they want to trade it for ETH, or they have ETH and they want to trade it for Bitcoin. Down here in green is all the Bitcoin holders. Up here in red is all the ETH holders. Okay, if you notice the prices, the highest price here is at the top, and then each one goes down. So let's, just for the sake of discussion, let's assume that each one of these represents a person, and that's the price they're willing to pay for ETH, right? That's the amount of Bitcoin they're willing to part with in order to get ETH, okay? And this guy, he wants, he's willing to pay less, and the next guy down is willing to pay less and less and less, all the way down the list, right? So somebody has a bunch of ETH and they want to dump it, right? Let's say, this number changes pretty fast, so it's not a good example, but let's say there's like 10 here. This is a quantity that's available at this price, right? And there's 20 down here, and there's 20 more down here, and somebody who has ETH wants to sell their 50 ETH, right, at market. We'll call it at market because that's what it's called. Then what would happen is he'd buy these 10 from this guy, he'd buy these 20 from this guy, and he'd buy these 20 from this guy, and that would equal 50. And then those would be gone off of the order book, and the fourth guy down his order would be at the top of the book, right? So that's if somebody was selling to these buyers. And the opposite is true for buying from the sellers, right? But let's say I want to buy 30 ETH, right? And this guy has 10, he has 10, and he has 10. This buyer is going to pick off those 3 orders, and then the fourth price up the list is going to be what's down here, right? Because these 3 will disappear because that inventory is gone, right? And that's how the price changes. So whenever you see the price change, like up here, right? Is that there? I don't know. Or here, for example, this is the trade history. So anytime an order is matched, right? So when you see a green arrow like this, that means it's a buy. Somebody on the buy side took liquidity from the sell side, right? So they placed a buy order at market and they removed some of the orders from the sell side. Okay, whenever you see red like this, it means somebody did a market sell and they removed some orders from the buy side. Okay, and so every time you see this thing change, like it just changed there now to 379, that becomes the new price of ETH Bitcoin, right? Every time a match is made, that becomes a new price. And that makes sense because that was the last price anyone paid for this thing, right? Or that was the last price anyone sold it for, or whatever. Depends on whether it was a buy or a sell. Okay? And that's how the price moves up and down. When you removed liquidity from the order book, you move the price because let's say I place a big buy order, I'm going to remove all of these sell orders from the order book, and the last highest price I pay becomes the new price that someone, that's quoted, like on the internet or whatever, right? So that's how the price moves on these level 2 exchanges, and on all exchanges for that matter, but a lot of exchanges don't expose this level to you. They just show you what the last open and close price was, and then and you're basically only restricted to market orders. Whereas here, I can place an order way up here and say, okay, I want to sell my Bitcoin for that price, right? Or I want to sell my ETH for that price, or I want to buy a Bitcoin, but I don't want to pay this much. I want to buy it here, and then I just put my order there and wait for the price to drop. And wait for my order to get filled, right? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's the order book, and that was a lot more time than I had planned on spending on that. Over here is just a regular chart, 1 hour chart. Over here I have the orders that are open. You can see this buy order. It was partially filled, and so until it's completely filled, it's going to stay on the order book and it's going to stay on this list. And my price was 0.06917. If you can see here, the price is already up to 0.073, so it's moved quite a bit. So I must have got it like way down at the bottom of this little spike here, and it partially filled and never completely filled because the price shot back up. So that one's kind of stuck until either the price goes back down or until I cancel the remaining portion of the order, which I most likely will not do. So this is a list of the open orders. You can also see a list of filled orders. That might take a while to show, but it just shows all the fills. And I'll get into that in a different video because it's pretty interesting, and there's some details there that I don't really want to get into now because it takes a little bit of explaining. But basically, anytime any of your orders are matched from the order book, whether you're a maker or taker. So what it means to be a maker is when you place your orders, you place them in the order book, and they add liquidity, right? So let's say I want to buy. Oh, I'll teach something else here. So do you see the spread here? It says 0.0002 or 3. Okay, that means that there's basically 3 empty spaces in between the highest bid price and the lowest ask price. So if I were to place an order right above this 377 at 378, it would go straight into the order book because there's nobody up here who's willing to take that price, right? Or who's offering it at that price. right? Well, right now the spread went down to 1, but every now and again it goes up to 2 or 3. Okay, so I could kind of cut this guy out of the picture by putting in an order 1 point above his as soon as the spread allows me to place an order in that price slot, right? And so basically, if I wanted to buy ETH, but I didn't want to buy it at market, let's say I wanted to buy it at a lower price, I would put an order in at a price lower than, say, 375, let's say 370. That order would go in the book at this price. This quantity here will increase by the size of my order, right? And that makes me a maker because I'm providing liquidity for somebody else to take off of the order book. It's going to place my order at this price at the right. But if I just say no, I want it now, and I place a market order, right, lowest seller's price, and it's going to eat up that part, that price level, and any other price levels required to fill my entire order. So let's say from here to here there's 20 ETH, and I put an order in for 20 ETH. I'm gonna collect all those 20 ETHs, and I'm gonna move the price up by 5 points, right? So that makes me a taker because I'm taking liquidity out of the order book, right? If I put liquidity in, I'm a maker. If I take liquidity out, I'm a taker. And takers generally pay more transaction fees than makers do, right? Makers are incentivized to put orders in the book and provide liquidity. Okay, so that's enough of that. Over here is the matches, which we've seen. Anytime there's a match on the order book, a new entry goes here. So that becomes a new price. This is the chart. Let's look at the market depth. Is kind of an interesting thing. This is basically a representation of the order book. Okay, so right there in the middle is right here in the middle, right? This price here represents the earliest red on the red side. This price here represents the earliest or the highest on the green side, on the buyer side. Okay, and then these things go up and up because this represents the volume available at that price, right? But it's a cumulative volume, right? So if I go here and I see, okay, 600 or 700 ETH, basically, right? If I sold 700 ETH at market, it would collect everything from here all the way to there, okay? And it would drive the price up by that much, right? If I were to buy, let's see, what do we got here? If I were to buy, say, 500 ETH, okay, I would actually move the price to this level right here. And it would basically wipe out all of that all the way down from the top of the bottom of the sell side all the way up to whatever this price is here, right? So it's just a different representation of the order book. So like, why would you use this, or when would you use this? Let's say I had enough Bitcoin to buy 500 ETH, right? Okay, and I had another 500 ETH to sell. I could do something like let's say, for example, or I don't know, and let's say another 200 ETH to sell, right? So I could do something to say, okay, how far down will the price move if I sell 200 ETH, right? And so I could say, okay, I'm going to put a buy order in, all right, a little ways past that, okay? So I get a nice, decent price, and then I'll dump my 200 ETH to drive the price down and cause people to panic and sell all their ETH until the price goes down and fills my buy order, for my big ass buy order, that I can reaccumulate this stuff at a discount. And now I've increased my stash, and I basically stolen some people's ETH, right? You know, because they panic sold. And so that's where you would use this sort of thing. The order book kind of shows you the details, like at what price level and things like that. But this kind of shows you, like, this lets you kind of say, project what you want to do. All right. So that's the market depth. Yes, I haven't had any activity for 4 days because all my activity is up at way higher prices. And so I've had all these orders, these sell orders at high prices that I'm waiting for the price to go back up and fill, you know. And it's a lot of orders, right? Let's go back to the thing. Where's my camera? Yeah, so 552 on either pair, right? So, yeah. But once those start to fill, if I'm at the computer, I'm going to try and film it in action because it really is kind of cool to see it when it's doing its thing, you know. Or what I might do is if I get a few bucks extra that I'm not expecting to get, I'll put it on the exchange and buy some Bitcoin and then increase my max trades on both sides and just turn it on, and you guys can see, like, okay, you can see it because all these things start to light up green, like these numbers, right? These here, I think these here. Whenever the current price gets close to one of these prices, it lights up, and then whenever we make any money, these light up, and it's kind of a cool little display. And then this guy, the server, is the one that really goes crazy because the more activity there is, the more this stuff will just be scrolling, right? But that's kind of, you know, that's not all that exciting to see. It's cooler to see lights flashing than to see text scrolling on a black screen, right? So this guy here is just a visual representation of the black screen. Okay. Well, this video has turned out to be a lot longer than I had expected, but I think it's important that you guys kind of understand how this stuff all works together and kind of how my thing works, you know, because the videos that I'll be producing from now on will be, it's going to assume that you understand all this stuff. And so I don't want to have to re-explain it in every video. Then I could have these short videos showing, oh, look, check it out. I got all the flashy lights like we talked about before. Or look at the order book going crazy over here on Coinbase and so on and so forth, right? All right, so that's pretty much all that I've got. Sorry that this video was so long, but like I said, I really want you guys to understand how this stuff all works. If you have questions, right, if there's something I didn't explain clearly, just put a question in the comments, and I will answer the questions. If there's something that I get enough people asking about, then I might make a video just about that one thing, just to kind of explain it in more detail, you know. That's all I got. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.